Hi everybody, it's Sandy Clarkson here with you today with a process video for My Creative Scrapbook. And what I'm going to be scrapping is a couple of pictures of the granddaughters. The blonde is Mary Ann, and she turned 17 earlier in the month, and so for her birthday she wanted to have what she called a fancy day in Dallas, and shopping, going to some jewelry stores, going to a coffee shop she heard about called La La Land, and then looking at houses in some upscale neighborhoods and parks in that area and things like that. And we all just thought she was kind of funny. She's such a sweet girl, but she's definitely got champagne taste, and so I just wanted to document this fun day that she had for her birthday. So I thought I would use white cardstock as my base this time, and I wanted to come in with a couple of papers, particularly this honeycomb paper that I really thought as using a background, but I thought I'm going to try doing something more minimal, and I'm going to like tear these and layer them something like this over here on the left hand side. I thought about doing a tiny bit over on the right, but I think I'll probably not. I probably should resize my photos a little bit and make them a little bit smaller, but we'll have the yellow right here, we'll have the photos, and then I've been playing around with some embellishments that I think I kind of want to layer. And I thought I might use this honeycomb piece. I'm not too big on hexagons, but I like that little honeycomb really well. And then I thought I would come in with some of the florals. There's lots of beautiful florals in this kit. And then I thought I would just build up a big cluster, toward the bottom and kind of slip that in like that. And then even bring this little treat with the honey on it and the little stirrer right there. Maybe just kind of build up a cluster of embellishments there. And then I thought to bring some interest, either, I need to use the yellow paper over here, the honeycomb paper, etc. Or maybe just put this big floral embellishment right there. And then that would be kind of the image for the paper. I could bring in a little bit of florals down here, or I will be cutting away or covering up the top of this, so, I could put this down here for a little bit of interest toward the bottom. So, different options, or, some of this paper over here. But then I thought about what I might want to do as far as mixed media. And I think I don't want to do any sponging, I don't think, like with my sponge brushes. At least not anything dark. I did think about using the stencil again. I've used the stencil once already. But using maybe something light in color. And so I kind of went through my 49 Market and Ranger colors. Daffodil would look really well with that. I also thought about the newer yellow, the pineapple. It's a little bit on the brighter side, so I might stick with the daffodil. Although it gets a bit orange if you get too heavy with it. But, I could use the stencil and just do like really small areas. I originally thought of down here, but I think I'm going to put my title down here, which that is one possibility, or I could put it up here, But anyway, I thought I could do a little bit of stenciling here and up there, and then maybe on the side, which would be a little bit like stamping, but just make it, a little bit of, sponging on some of that daffodil color. So I might do that. I also thought about using modeling paste, you know, like my light and fluffy modeling paste from the Crafter's Workshop. You know, that would dry white, and so it would provide some texture on the page, but no color, you know. So that would leave kind of a clean look, but provide some interest. But since I'm actually using white cardstock for a change, I thought that maybe I would just kind of let the white dominate and not do a lot in the background, you know, leave some white space, you know, for a change. And then I was also thinking that this title piece was a little bit small. I may change my mind once I get the paper on, but in the cardstock stickers, there is a larger title. Let me just bring it over. That says enjoy, and I pulled that off a moment ago, and that's more the size I'm wanting. And so that would go down there and fill that up, in which case I probably would not want much down here at all, at least as far as text. You know, I might could have a little bit of floral there, but I think I want to just maybe use that. So I'm thinking about that. Originally, I was also thinking about using this dripping honeycomb piece. And there is also an ephemera piece that's the same. And kind of, you know, putting it at the top and letting it drip down. And so it would, the honey would almost be like mixed media paint dripping down. So I think I had that a moment ago, but I think I really like the, here, I'll just pull this one off since I don't have the ephemera bit right here, but it's about the same. So, you know, that could go up and then you could cut it off and it would be straight. So that would be, really cute. So I'm anxious to use that, somewhere. So that's about all I've got going in my head. I was thinking about also using this black strip over here along the side of the two yellow papers, in which case then I would need to think about having some kind of black down here, you know, or over here somewhere, and I don't really know what that would be. It could be the bicycle. That's like the largest object that has black in it that I could think of, although there's some black titles and things like that, or I could use some of that black paper, but so I may or may not do that. And then I'm thinking about adding in just a few of the hexagons, and you know, there's some in the ephemera pack that I would probably use, but maybe use those around, or use the bumblebees. There's a lot of bumblebees over there in the ephemera pack. So that's another option, just to kind of be fillers and that kind of thing, or the hearts. But, you know, I think, you know, I don't want to make a big block of them like that, but, you know, just one or two here and there, maybe even a couple, and then a honeybee mixed in. I would like to use the mason jar. Maybe not on this layout, but I think that would be cute to write on that and put your journaling right there. So that's about what I'm thinking so far. And then I do think I'm going to bring in some dimensional flowers. I don't know which ones, but not the pink ones for sure, because I've got this orange truck I'm dealing with, unless I change my photos to black and white. And but then, you know, I think I add some florals over here and bring in some purple alongside. And then I do still have one little branch here of the larger purple flowers, but I've got a couple of the little small ones there. But the lighter lavender would be good to bring in, you know, to go with the little, that little cluster, and with this one up here. I'm pretty committed to putting that up there and letting that, you know, become part of my paper, if you will. So anyway, that's what I've kind of got going. And then when I have it done, then I will probably give it to the birthday girl and she can put it in a shadow box and remember her 17th birthday. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera off and I'm gonna get started. Okay, so now we're gonna get started with the actual creation, and I am tearing my two pieces of paper together, although I shifted the beehive paper over to the left so I'd be able to get a little bit of extra paper but still have the same tearing line on each paper. Inevitably, I do move the beehive paper over so it can show both on the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the honey jar paper. And right there, I'm kind of playing around with what it might look like if I put those pattern papers all the way flush to the left, which would be fine. Either way is good, but I did ultimately decide to go ahead and let a little bit of the white cardstock show on the left-hand side. And right there, I was experimenting with that black strip that's on the cardstock sticker sheet. And it would look nice, but I didn't really feel like I had any black to balance it over on the right-hand side of the paper. So I opted not to use it. But there, I'm just kind of auditioning how that might look and where to place my photos. I actually printed my photos pretty large for me. They're kind of like, I think they're probably 3 by 3 or something like that, or maybe even 3.5 by 3.5. They're larger than normal, but I think I was going to use them on something else and then opted to do this. But I did want to document Marianne's day. I had some more photos, so I could do another page and do, the, double page spread that I haven't probably done in 15, 20 years. But anyway, one thing I wanted to put on the paper that I didn't was she had written a plan for the day, so it was her list of places to visit. And, and it also included going to a sushi bar, which I don't think I mentioned that earlier. But they went to all the places, and then they even stopped for ice cream on the way home because they decided since her party was, seeing Dallas for the day that they wouldn't do a cake at home. They would just do ice cream on the way home. So anyway, I'm once again auditioning all my pieces and trying to figure out kind of how high up I need to place the photos so I'll have room at the bottom for my title and some embellishments that I want to place down there at the bottom. And there you see me move that beehive paper over to the left a little bit so it'll show on both sides. I just think it's a real pretty sheet of paper, very neutral. I even considered using it as just a background. But there I'm auditioning some different florals to maybe put under that bottom photo just to bring, more florals all around and create a cluster over there. And I'm planning on using that Enjoy title most likely, although I do play around with the Buzz and Bloom. And then here I take some vintage photo and go ahead and distress the edges of my photos and then that pattern paper on the left there. I'm really trying to transition over to the Ranger inks, 49 Market Ranger inks. But this was handy, and I wasn't really happy with the pattern paper I chose to mat my photos. I wish I'd gone with a solid or something. So that's kind of why I distressed the photo edges or the photo mat edges. And so I decided, well, I'd go ahead and do that as well, although I think I would have been just as fine not to have done the pattern paper. But, I'm looking at it there, and then I'm just going to use glue. I think I'm using art glitter glue on this layout. If not, I'm using my Barely glue, which is very much the same. And I get those layered up, and then I think I do bring my T-square in just to make sure that I'm leaving the right same amount of space, you know, up and down. And right here, when I turn that paper over and I see that beautiful purple paper with the embellishments, I kind of went, oh, why did I not choose that? You know, it was a really pretty piece of paper, so it would have been great, and I'm sure some of the other design team members will use it. It was very pretty, but I wanted to bring in the yellows because they went to La La Land for coffee to, you know, that was one of their stops. And there was one photo with a bunch of their yellow cups in the background. And so I just thought I would go with more yellow on this page. And I thought about changing these photos to black and white also because of that orange truck, but I decided just to go with it and let it be. And that way, if she wants to put it in a shadow box and keep it, you know, she can have the true colors of the day and think about what they were wearing and all that kind of stuff. So I decided to use some corrugated cardboard, which, you know, I knew I would be left in my photos, but I decided on using one piece for the lower photo and two pieces for the upper photo. So it'll be a little bit higher. And then I do use my T-square to make sure I'm lined up. And then I trim away some of my corrugated cardboard because part of the upper picture is actually going to rest on that lower photo. And so I'm just trimming up those two pieces of corrugated cardboard. It's just going to raise it up a little higher, and that's really kind of the dominant photo of the page. And then you're going to see me playing around with my embellishments almost ad nauseum, but you know, I want to get everything just right, and I am committed to using that floral in the upper right hand corner so that that can almost become part of the background paper, if you will. And then I do want to use that honeycomb to the right of the girl's photo, and I do plan to put some bumblebees on it, but I think it's a really cute embellishment. And then here you see me playing around with which group of, you know, lavender and flowers I want to use in the corner and which one's going to scoot up underneath there. One really good decision I made was when I put that little honey stir with the little treat over on the right hand side. I was trying to use it on the left and it just wasn't working, but when I put it over on the right, I was going like, bingo, I got it. But there I'm trying to decide, I want some kind of floral there at the bottom of the page, and but not too much because I still want to use my title down there. So, you know, it's really just one of those things where you just have to kind of play with things as you go. And I admire those people who just do process videos and they get everything right first go around. I'm thinking they must use wax paper like we do with planners, you know, to make sure this is where you want it to go before you really put it down. And then here I also don't have to use corrugated cardboard all the way across because I am propping that piece of ephemera also on the photo to the left of it. So I only have to brace it over there on the right hand side. And then I'm playing with that little group of photos there because I know I want to put something floral wise along the left hand side of my photographs, but I do decide to use what you see there right there for my bottom photograph. And here I'm going to commit to that little cute treat. I just love it. Just kind of made the whole page, and I'm going to put that right up there. And then the wisteria there, not wisteria, I keep saying that. The lavender is going to get moved around just a little bit into another cluster. But I spent way too long trying to decide where all the florals were going to go. And actually, I was trying to put them in between the two photographs, kind of like right there. And then, you know, once I decided to kind of make it encompass a little more of the upper picture, things start coming together more, you know. And right there I was using paper florals except for that white one, but there I go ahead and put down my enjoy title. And I guess I went off camera for a little bit there, and I am coming in now with some of the hexagons, and I'm adding some bumblebees on top of a couple of them. And I don't on the very top one because there's a bumblebee right below it on that large honeycomb. But anyway, I use bumblebees a lot when they're available. I like them every bit as much as butterflies, and maybe more so sometimes. But anyway, I think they're really cute, and I do try a few on that upper one, but it just seems too crowded. And right there is, I wanted something to go up above the flowers, and I fussed around trying to find just the right thing. And then, I tried that larger jar of honey. Well, maybe it's not honey, it's yellow, but it's got the lavender stuck in there. So, but it seemed to be just the right size to go right there, and created some balance on top of the busy pattern paper, and then worked well with those florals that I wanted to bring in. So I finished up with the one large white flower, or one of the large white flowers, and 2 shades of purple. And then I also, underneath those, I'm going to be putting some greenery, as well as that little grouping of lavender that was from what I trimmed off for that little cluster that I used below my secondary photo. But things weren't quite finished, I didn't feel like, up there, so I felt like I needed something to the left, and that's when I came in with that large purple heart that you see over there on my mixed media mat. It just seemed to kind of finish everything off, and I liked it a lot. So there's so much in this kit to embellish with. I've done 4 layouts, and I still have lots of paper and lots of embellishments left. So I'm adding in a bumblebee. I'm just trying to decide where he's going to go. And that one, I think, goes on top of the heart. I use another one down below on top of one of the honey jars. It's already got a smaller bumblebee, but I wanted it to be bigger. And so there I want to bring in a bumblebee amongst those florals up there. Originally, I was just going to leave that alone and not do anything, but I did decide to bring in a little bit more. Now, while I'm finishing up here, I just want to mention that there are details below in the description box about how to order a kit, and an inventory more of what's in the kit. But there's 4 different kinds of kits at My Creative Scrapbook, so there's something there for almost every style of scrapbooking. Now I'm playing around with finishing off this little title grouping or embellishment, if you will. I just do want to kind of bring in everything together down there so it won't look like it's just floating. I almost needed like a little dot or a tilde or something right there to the left of the title, so I was trying the bumblebee, and but I end up placing it more on top of the title, and I like that better. So that's kind of what I decide on right there, although I think I do change the size of the bumblebee, and I forget if I go bigger or smaller, but I do change the sizing of the bumblebee. And then I finish with gold splatters from Shimmers. It's their Gold Digger. I think it's a colorings, but it works really well. Since I'm using white this time, and I didn't really want to use purple splatters, gold turned out to be just the perfect choice. And there I'm trying to figure out where to put the little word phrase be positive. And that's when I discovered that I haven't glued down my little purple paper flower. So I do bend up the edges a little bit so it will be more dimensional looking. And I just tuck it in there, and then that gives me an odd number of flowers for right there. So now I'm going to cover my photos in preparation for splatters. But before I do that, I think I have to finish playing around with my little Be Positive. And I actually then remember the little sticker on the cardstock sheet that said the best day. And I thought, well, that really applies to their little, birthday trip. And so I decided to kind of nestle that in amongst the flowers. And then I'm going to put the Be Positive over on that right-hand side. Just want to make sure it's straight. And then I'm trying to find a scrap that I can put on top of that won't cover too much, but yet cover their faces so I can go ahead with my gold splatters. And I always use a secondary tool to help me splatter. It seems like I can't do it with just tapping with my finger like I used to be able to. I did get one large drip that I really didn't want, but I decided I just have to embrace it because it was there. The paper's not gessoed. I actually was using Vicky Bouton foundation paper here, so it might have come off. And I hated to use good foundation paper for a non-mixed media layout, but I wanted it to be good and sturdy since I'd be giving it away. So here's my finished product and my close-ups. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you.